There we are. Look at how nice and clear that is. That must be my pot of gold right there. Yep, right there. See that, where that's coming from, that promise from God? Yep. That pot of gold is going to be right in there somewhere. I'm going to go look.
My name's Gary Evans with Let It Be RV. This is an instructional video because a lot of people have been asking about my solar install, and they've been wanting to come and see it, but a lot of times it's hard to get people to come up to Pacific Northwest to see what I got. So we're going to shoot a video for two purposes. One is for my education, so I can refer to it, and also for your education, or for basically understanding what we did with our 24-volt system as it ties in both to our house battery, our solar system, and our general system when we're plugged in. So hopefully you enjoy the video. It's going to be for about 10-15 minutes. So
yeah, we have a number of outlets. Being right here, being an outlet, there's an outlet here, there's outlets all over the place. There's the fan that's back here that runs basically, I believe, off of the house battery. And so Joshua is going to explain to us a problem one might have by using solar in relation to the plug-in.
Well, people might have the problem if they didn't integrate their solar into the original system. Most people do. That's why they go with 12-volt systems. But we use the inverter to basically power the rest of the.
I wanted to have Josh explain the three systems that we had to address when setting up this solar system, because essentially what I was trying to do is to live off grid to be able to charge all of the things I needed to charge when I needed to charge them. So Josh, would you explain to us the three systems that we had to set up?
Sure, I will. There's three systems to this unit. They're all kind of integrated within each other. The first one is the original carriage with the single carriage battery, which is a 12-volt, and you got a fuse box. You have a breaker box, and that is where everything happens within the carriage that's already pre-existing, like the overhead lights and the fan in the back, and those sort of systems, the hood range with the fan and all that. So really he wanted something a lot more, something that he can sustain off grid all the time, and that just wasn't going to do it. And we didn't really have any storage for much batteries or anything like that. So we built this box here, and you can see here we got 4 gel batteries, 155 amps. They're wired in series parallel connection here. We have these big battery blocks, terminal blocks that everything is kind of junctioning at right there. We do have over here we have a master shut off switch there, and back here we have a fuse rated to blow if anything was to short circuit or anything like that. Come back over here, we have basically the batteries are running to the inverter here.
What is the inverter, Josh?
It's a 24-volt inverter. It'll spike. It's 2,000 nominal watts, but it will spike it like up to 6,000. So if you had a rotary motor or something like that you had to start, it'll do it pretty much. It's a pretty good unit, I think. It does have a battery charger itself for the batteries, which we do use when we're plugged into shore power.
And that's 2,000
watts nominal is what it, you can run 2,000 watts on it indefinitely, basically. Down over here you can see some weird stuff going on here. These are basically just little converters that one of them is running the refrigerator right here. This guy, you can tune it in to what voltage is good for the refrigerator, because the solar system could spike. Each one of those panels is 17 volts, so I was afraid that it could be a little bit too much over voltage for the refrigerator, because in the manual the refrigerator was very specific about the voltage requirements. So
and
we ran this guy for that.
The refrigerator is 24 volts only, not propane.
Yes, it's 24 volts only. That's a little we could show them that real quick. It's just a little, what was it, the CR65?
Yeah, CR65 Dometic.
Dometic CR65 that is running great, I guess.
And just to let you know, we didn't do this willy-nilly. We took us a year of research, YouTube. We ordered some wrong things sometimes, and some things didn't work, and we had to, go back and rethink everything. So having this system run the refrigerator was my number one. I wasn't concerned about an air conditioner, but that was my number one thing, is to be able to run the refrigerator.
Yeah, so I'm calling this section here like the second system in the RV right now, and it basically takes this capacity of battery, 24 volts, and in here it is converted into 110 house power, and that's over here on this side. You can see where it's plugged in there. And basically, you want to pan up here, it runs to all these plug-ins. This is kind of like the power, this is like the command center for the whole solar system. You got your charge controller here, we'll talk about in a minute, but this is your inverter control panel, and this is for the Winegard Wi-Fi
Antenna, yeah.
But if you want to go back down here, focus on this here. This is the transfer switch, and what these wires do is it takes the place. What it does is it incorporates the 12 volt system of the carriage to the 24 volt system through the inverter. Basically reroutes the shore power so that this inverter will charge the batteries at a high rate, whatever rate you want. You can set it right here. But then it also supplies power. It doubles back. When it knows it has power going to it, it'll double it back and send it back over here to this breaker box and fuse panel section. So it basically, when you're plugged in, it's the same as if you're plugged in regular, but it also charges the solar system and the big battery banks all at the same time. And when you have these breakers flipped up, it charges off of, we put the other battery over here, kind of a weight distribution thing, but it also, the box underneath the carriage wasn't very good. Battery. So this is the carriage battery right here. It's just a single one, and we got it wired into the DC side, the fuses and all that of the breaker box. And so when you have the inverter on and you're plugged into shore power, it will also feed the main carriage system, the 110 power, and the 110 power unit has its own battery charger down below that will charge the carriage battery separately as a 12 volt system. So when you're plugged into shore power, it will charge the 12 volt system and it'll charge the 24 volt system simultaneously. Okay, so this is the number 2 part. The number 3 part is the actual solar system. So up here on the roof we have 4 Renogy panels, 100 watts each, approximately 17 volts, wired in series parallel connection. That way you have a good balance of voltage and amperage. We just ran everything to this, just bought a little junction box and played it over the vent that was there, and just if we need to go down into the cab, we can just drill another hole and put another watertight
Explain
connector on
input,
it.
Josh. Explain where the input's coming from the solar standpoint.
Well, it's going directly from the solar panels into this charge controller, which the solar panels actually power this thing. All this does is regulate, you got to set it up, program it, but it regulates the slow charging of the batteries on all the time, daily basis.
So this is power. This is actual power coming in to the batteries.
Yeah, 6 amps, and the batteries right now are at 28.3, 28.2, something like that. It monitors it pretty well. We can go over here. We can turn on this guy, and we can see how it matches up. We got 28.6 there. It kind of shows you a diagram of what the batteries are doing. This is more for finding out what the sun is doing and how well it's charging with the sun, and this is to tell you what the system's kind of doing. They both have like alarms that you can set. They kind of give you a warning that you might be going a little bit too low on the voltage. We try to set it at like 25.2 or something like that. You know, we don't want to go in too low. That's that.
Wait a minute. The question, the fear of monitoring this is that we don't want to take the batteries past the half-life, right?
Right.
Explain that.
Well, I'm not an expert, but I know that the very top of the voltage of the batteries is where you want to be. You always want to be at maximum, and then there's every battery manufacturer has a different voltage of what you shouldn't go beyond, because it really starts killing the cells in the battery. It cuts the life of the battery down a lot. So if you want like the best battery life, you want to keep it up as much as possible.
So the point is here is that I monitor this to make sure it doesn't go too low, and make sure I'm using the top end of the battery.
Yeah,
not the
and if
bottom
it does
end.
go too low, then you have to just basically minimize your consumption. You have to just stop doing whatever
Exactly.
you're doing, you know.
Stop.
And
Yeah, this is just to kind of elaborate on what Joshua just said, is the fact that we set this up as a charging station for things like my Echo, my telephone, my charge battery to charge my telephone, even my flashlight, my drill, my vacuum cleaner. I mean, I could go on and on. This is the charging station that keeps me functioning electronically, okay, with our system. Okay, thank you. The alternator went to the house battery, and the alternator charged the house battery. We really didn't like that. We wanted to utilize the solar, because we felt we had some solar that was not being used, and so that's why we disconnected it from the alternator on the engine and made it functional with the solar. So yeah, I want to say thank you for watching this. If this is instructional for you, that's why we did it. It's more instructional for me when I'm out, so I can look at this video and answer some questions for myself. I will say one thing about the charge controller here. When it gets too hot, okay, it has a tendency, the fan comes on and it cools itself down. So the system, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my son. Him and I, as father-son project, did this, and so I just want to say thank you, Josh, for all the work that you did and we did together. But it was fun. It was fun to do, and so I just ask you to subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell, so every time I post a video, you can be warned or informed about the video. So I just want to say thank you and peace.